Today on a resource review ICT Special, we're going to be examining 3 resources for secondary MFL that you might find useful for your classroom. They are MFL authoring software for your PC and interactive whiteboard, some interactive activities for French pupils and teachers alike, and a website of exercises to help with German vocabulary and grammar. Recommending today's resources, we have Marilyn Hunt, lecturer in MFL Teacher Education at the University of Warwick. On the panel today, Janina Phillips, Head of Languages at Alderman Blackshill School in Colchester, and Adrienne Jones, a freelance education consultant. And over in the test lab, Matthew Tosh, our resident ICT investigator, is standing by to give us a tour of the resources. Well, Marilyn, the first resource we're going to discuss is called Task Magic. Can you explain this one to us and why you like it?
I've chosen this because it's a great value authoring programme for teachers. It's very versatile and easy to use, and it creates a whole range of activities which help to reinforce language, but also are fun and motivating for students of all ages and all abilities. You can see that there are a range of different activities, and from that the package creates its own set of games and activities for pupils.
So the teacher inputs the language in any language they want.
That's right.
And the resource does the hard work for you in a way.
Absolutely.
Well, for a bit more of a tour of Task Magic, let's go over to Matthew in the test lab.
Task Magic allows you to create a lot of interactive quizzes based on words, images and sounds. Now at the outset, when you first look at the software, it looks terrifying to use, but if you watch this demonstration, you'll actually find out it's not that difficult to use. I'm going to do a text quiz to begin with, and on the left hand side of the screen you can see some fixed phrases I've put, and on the right hand side are going to be the answers to the phrases, or the second part of the phrases that are jumbled up in the quizzes. And I can type in my phrases that I want to use, and there's one here. I just need to finish this off here, so I'll just type in now alpinisme. Okay, and to create my quizzes all I need to do is click on the View Exercises button. As soon as I click on that, the computer automatically generates up to 15 quizzes. For this exercise, it's actually only created 12. And I can have a look at one of them now, and it just uses the phrases I've typed in to generate these variety of quizzes. You can see this one here, it's against the clock, and I just need to match the phrases up. So, quand il fait beau, je vais à la plage. Hey presto, and you keep going until they've all disappeared. Now, there are other types of quizzes that you can create. I've just shown you the text one, but I can do a picture matching quiz. I'm going to open one that I've downloaded from the internet so we can get an idea of how it works. Now, the principle is the same, but instead of typing in different phrases, I put in some pictures that I've downloaded and some phrases as well. If I want to add a new picture, I just click in the box there and I pull it in off my hard drive. So it's fairly straightforward. Once you've done that, again you click on the View Exercises button and it generates some more quizzes. It's really that easy to use. So with this resource, the world, well actually Europe, is quite literally your oyster. It seems to cope with most modern languages, although a word of advice, I would have a go at downloading some of the free quizzes to play around with to learn about how the programme works. You download it from the Task Magic website. So for the time being, je vous souhaite la bonne chance. À la prochaine.
Well, Marilyn, Matthew seemed to think that a few minutes input could give teachers a great return with Task Magic, but I'm suspicious. I reckon actually they'd have to put in quite a lot of work to get the most out of that resource. Is it going to be worth the investment?
I think so, because teachers spend a lot of time anyway planning lessons, and by spending that time they've actually got a lot of different activities on the computer for pupils to use, but also there's a facility for creating worksheets. So I think that the versatility is there, and I think it's worth it.
So all good from your point of view. Well, Janina, you've tried out Task Magic in your classroom. How did it go down?
I've been trialling with my Year 7, and they actually said it was absolutely lovely. It's fun actually playing the games, but at the same time they felt they were learning.
And could you see that it would lend itself equally well to other languages?
It doesn't matter what language you use. I personally, myself, actually already made some exercises myself. As Marilyn said, it does save an awful lot of time.
Oh, right.
I'm not an IT expert, and yet I could actually sort of knock up an exercise in 10 minutes prior to a lesson.
Well, Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
It's very colourful, I think. So as a design, in terms of
something that is different but engaging. I think when people put together websites, when designers put them together, they need to think carefully about the colour of the text that goes on, particularly with dyslexic pupils. Some of them do have problems when the messages get to the eye about colour, it dances, and so they become difficult to read. How much would you see this being used on an interactive whiteboard? Some of it could be used for starters or plenaries. You could have team games like that noughts and crosses thing. So I think it can be used in a number of different ways. It could be used for whole class, it could be used individually at the computer, or pairs working together.
Okay, well let's leave that one there and now move on to Marilyn's second choice of resource. And this is a whole suite of websites for 4 different languages. Marilyn, explain this one to us.
Okay, so Zoot is the one that I think is most well known, but alongside that are Spanish, German and Welsh websites. And it's very good, I think, to be able to have languages other than French. Quite often what happens is that there's lots of resources for French, but not so much for Spanish or German. What I like about it is the fact that it's all categorised very clearly into key stages and into year groups. So you can click on a particular year group and all of the topics are arranged there, which makes it very easy to access. So we've got listening, reading, writing. We're going to look at a jumbled sentence exercise.
Okay.
Wayne Rooney juega al fútbol. Check results. Correct.
Can I just clarify one point with you? All 4 websites are free, but there is a charge, a subscription charge for French and German within school hours, 9 till 4.
That's right. The good thing about it, of course, is that as it's free in the evening, it can be used for homework.
Thanks, Marilyn. Well, for a practical explanation of the French version, Zoot, let's go back to Matthew in the test lab.
Bonjour tous. Aujourd'hui, on va regarder le site de Zoot. Yes, that's right, we're going to be looking at the Zoot website, and there's some good material here for your interactive whiteboards. Now, the Zoot site is part of a series of websites covering Spanish, German, Welsh and French, but today we're going to be looking at the French one. And I can give you a flavour of some of the things on offer by looking at the Year 7 food section. Next to each of the activities you can see some icons and it tells you whether it's a reading, writing or listening exercise. There's also a miniature whiteboard icon there and that tells you that that activity is well suited for use on an interactive whiteboard. I thought we'd have a look at a listening exercise. Now this one you have to click on the speaker and then you type in the word like that. Now you can use the on-screen keyboard as well if you're using an interactive whiteboard. We can have a look at some of the other year groups by clicking on the left-hand side. So we'll have a look at this grammar section under Year 9. And I want to show you this flash presentation on the perfect tense. And I like this because it forces you to complete a full sentence. So we've got Je suis allé, click on that, move through this. J'ai oublié mon porte-monnaie chez moi. And she gets very excited when you get it correct. But talk about an overreaction if you get something wrong. Now we will have a look at some of the Key Stage 4 material here, and there's the obligatory crossword and word searches you tend to find with language websites. Now I have noticed that for some of the listening exercises it's not clear whether you should be writing your answers in English or French, but I'd imagine once you got used to the website you'd know which one to type in. There are transcripts of all the listening exercises and there's some good resources on the site, including some shortcuts about the French accents on your keyboard. The activities you see here are mirrored across the French, German, Spanish and Welsh websites. So for the time being, as they would say in French, I will see you later, or à bientôt sur Resource Review.
Janina, how did you find using Zoot in the classroom?
The pupils actually found it quite easy to follow. But I must say that compared to Task Magic, they said that they felt it was a bit dull, the presentation. I still think that they think it's good, but I think what they're saying is the younger ones tend to like playing games. The older ones feel as if they're playing games, they're not necessarily learning.
Right.
So they're more motivated by actually having something a bit more challenging, like a gap-filling exercise or having to write something in French. They feel as if they're actually all pronouncing things, you know. So I feel that, you know, there's a bit of everything for, you know, both young pupils and the Key Stage 4.
Okay. Adrienne?
Well, picking up on that point, if you look at this screen, when pupils go into it, they think it has the promise of being bright, lively and colourful. But if we look at food here,
What they're then presented with is a list which doesn't look quite as enticing, and the pictures, it looks big on there, but on a computer screen it's actually quite small, and it seems to lose the promise. And I think certainly with younger students, where they are used to bright, lively, colourful screens which have got a promise of something interesting to do as an interactive activity, I think there can sometimes be a problem.
A bit limited, maybe?
You know, maybe a kind of attitude towards it.
The point with any resources, you have to look at it and see if it's going to suit your pupils.
Yeah.
And some you're going to want to use, and some you're going to think, no, I don't want to use that.
But there's a lot there to choose from.
But I suspect the point about homework is actually the case, you know, that
something free in the evenings,
there are lots of
is going to really
reviews
appeal.
actually on the site from young people who have used it, who really like it.
OK, finally, let's move on to Marilyn's third choice of resource, a website called CLAR. Marilyn, explain this one to us.
This is a website which has been produced by a teacher, designed by a teacher. Again, it's divided into topics, so easily accessible. I think the thing that I liked particularly about this is that it is a time saver for teachers, and I think for busy teachers, for teacher trainees, for NQTs, there's a lot of material there for them to look at.
Now this resource is purely for German, is that right?
Absolutely. We're going to look at house and environment, meine Stadt, my town. Here you can see that there are a number of slideshows and also games. The slideshows basically are PowerPoint presentations. And I think the good thing about this is you've got a ready-made stock of PowerPoints, some with sound. You've got exercises that the pupils can do. Again, it can be used on the board, interactive whiteboard, or individually or in pairs at computers. But you've still got here the visuals, you've got the colour coding, so the masculine nouns are in blue, the feminine are in pink, red. You can download that, you can adapt it, you can tailor it to the needs of a particular class. So, but it gives you a starting point. You're not starting on a blank sheet. You've got quite a lot there to help you with already.
Janina, what do you think?
I think there's a good variety. I think it's very visual. I think that's one of the things that's quite appealing to pupils. And I think they just feel very, very motivated because of that.
Right. OK, Adrienne?
I like the slideshows, but when I tried it out I had a bit of a problem with sound. There was a hiss in the background, which meant that I couldn't hear the language as clearly as I would have liked.
OK, well, thank you all very much. 3 popular resources today for secondary MFL. To recap, the ones we looked at were Task Magic from MDL Soft, languageskills.co.uk from Catherine Murphy, and the CLAR website from Heidi Behrens. For more information about the resources we've discussed today, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or if you want to email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. I'd like to say a big thank you to our panel, to Marilyn, to Janina and Adrienne. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.